What do you picture when you hear the words Barbershop Quartet? Four guys in striped outfits and straw hats? Well, sure, that's typically what's associated with them. But it wasn't always this way. So how exactly did we get here? How did we get to personalities such as Jimmy Fallon, Homer Simpson, and even the kids from South Park all taking part in barbershop harmony? The idea of close harmonizing began in England and came to North America in the 19th century. This soon evolved into an African-American rooted tradition of men gathering informally to sing four-part harmonies. These parts would eventually be known as baritone, bass, lead, and tenor. It all harkens back to when barbershops served as community centers, more than just a place to get your hair cut. These men would gather for social and musical activities. In the 1840s and 1850s, traveling minstrel groups included quartets performing popular ballads. At this time, quartet singing was developing into a national pastime. For men, this became a form of socialization, recreation, and ultimately a hobby and an outlet for the working class. Into the 20th century, famous quartets began recording and selling their music. This led to consumers listening and mimicking the harmonies. So back at the barbershops, men would gather knowing some of the popular songs and try to recreate them. However, as technologies developed, such as the microphone and records, it made more opportunities for solo musicians. This, coupled with radio booming in popularity, allowed people to stay home and still be entertained. During the Great Depression, money was scarce and live entertainment was less popular. More songs became popular that were melody-driven, with fewer harmonies, and barbershop music took a back seat. Swing music with big band sounds and upbeat tempos became the standard for entertainment, while unaccompanied singing was losing interest. In the late 1930s, as the art form was fading, Owen C. Cash organized a songfest with some friends on the roof garden of the Tulsa Club with the idea of harmonizing for fun.
It all started about 10 years ago over in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with a letter of invitation that I sent out about the only privilege guaranteed by the Bill of Rights is the art of barbershop quartet singing.
An organization emerged from this event, titled the Society for Preservation and Encouragement of Barbershop Quartet Singing in America, SPEBSQUSA. Yes, it seemed like a long acronym, but the group was deliberately spoofing the alphabet soup names of many U.S. government agencies of the time. However, this title stuck and was its name for the next 67 years. With such a large historical background tied to our American roots, barbershop music remains an important part of our history. The group in Tulsa grew up to 150 men at weekly meetings, and its popularity was picked up by Newswire and published in newspapers across the country. Chapters formed in other cities and soon spread throughout the country, as it became obvious that many other men identified with the importance of preserving the unique sound as part of the American record. The first ever barbershop contest was held in 1939, further increasing interest in the singing tradition.
Once more, two tears of happiness.
In 1945, Edna Mae Anderson from Tulsa led the formation of Sweet Adelines International, a women's organization for female barbershop singing, which is still around today with thousands of members globally. In 1957 to 1962, Meredith Willson's Broadway production of The Music Man featured a barbershop quartet, which also helped to rebound the art form back into the mainstream. In 1957, even Walt Disney found barbershop singing important to add to Main Street USA in Disneyland, which represents the 1890 to 1910 time frame in America. The Dapper Dans can still be found entertaining at both Disney parks today, solidifying this traditional American music. Men from around the country began to attend conventions and contests, forming bonds over this American art form. Men who were once strangers will ask one another what part they sing and teach each other a quick tag, which is typically the last phrase or sentence of a song. This activity often leads to new friendships and bonds. While the perception in our society has remained the same of barbershop, old men, striped vests, shoes, and straw hats, the sound has actually changed and developed. With the introduction of a collegiate quartet contest, it grew in popularity among a younger generation, introducing the sound and hobby which excelled its growth in the 90s. A cappella music has become more popular through the years through movies such as Pitch Perfect. With the creation of recording devices and learning tracks, music education prospered regarding what makes chords ring. In 2005, Spebsquisa changed its name to the Barbershop Harmony Society. Along with the new name came changes to the traditionally acceptable barbershop arrangements, which were not widely accepted by some longtime members of the organization. Many singers of the craft, or so-called barbershoppers, still want to preserve the traditional art form as it began. Some even openly made mention on the contest stage.
Those songs that are the hits today, our contest will allow somehow.
In 2018, the organization also opened to allow members of any gender with the motto, "Everyone in Harmony." Mixed male and female choruses may now compete against men's choruses, and mixed quartets can be found throughout the society. The early songs of America were identified with simpler times and more wholesome values such as love, romance, patriotism, and holidays. The quartets singing these could travel easily, needing no instruments, and their apparel often reflected themes of American identity, such as armed forces, patriotic colors, and the turn-of-the-century formal attire. The lore and tradition of barbershop harmony has found its way into the modern American consciousness, and today's generation still has images in their mind of the old-time barbershop quartet. Quartets can be found on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, The Simpsons, Family Guy, Cheers, and other animated productions, and even video games.
It's nice to rest your eyes and
Barbershop quartets, a staple of American identity, frequently appear in media depicting the early 20th century or beyond, reflecting their significant contribution to the identity of American history. How do barbershoppers themselves feel the art form is preserved today? Let's get some insider thoughts. Thankfully, I was able to talk with the Sound of the Rockies, a barbershop chorus located in Denver, about their thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, I mean, you see barbershop in all kinds of pop culture throughout the decades. Most recently, there have been several renditions of The Music Man that has been reprised.
It goes back to The Music Man and before that, you know. I mean, people have heard barbershop all over the place.
It's been a part of Americana since the turn of the century. It's grown as America has changed, the sound has changed.
Yeah, and you know, it's more the caricaturized versions of barbershop. I mean, I don't look like a barbershopper. I'm covered in tattoos and I have huge piercings in my ears, but when you see the stylized straw hats and canes and all that jazz, you see that in all kinds of pop culture these days. So I think it's represented in a way that maybe barbershoppers would prefer. You kind of see the other side and where, you know, all the cool stuff happens instead of just the canes and such.
It's a beautiful art form and it needs to stick around.
It's a classic look, four men standing together. The songs that we sing are very homegrown and very appealing.
Well, there are very few styles of music that are community-centric these days.
Perhaps no other time in world history is it more important for us to be able to find community.
We have lots of musical genres from the United States, including jazz, but I think barbershop is right up there too.
So it should be preserved because music is a reflection of what's happening in any culture and in the world.
I think like anything else, it's going to have to change. The strict definition of barbershop is a little different than how we sing it now.
Barbershop is reflective of our history, and because it's unique to the USA, it's great to make sure that that doesn't disappear. We don't want that to disappear.
And it's a very unique musical style with very close harmonies and a cappella, obviously. It's a beautiful part of, again, of American heritage.
Barbershop's a great American pastime that kind of is a very strong community music organization that exists.
It's preservation of history of this country, and it's fostering community.
It adds so much to my life.
Sound of the Rockies it's a second family to me, and I think most of the guys in here would agree.
With a long, detailed background and strong community, barbershop harmony continues to solidify its place in the history and identity of the United States of America.